Let's see, 4 minutes is a degree of arc. I think we're still good on this chart. I thank everyone who's not leaving to take a deep breath from the stars to their heart and then exhale it from the heart to the earth. And take a deep breath from the earth to their heart. And then exhale it to the stars. And then a deep breath from the stars and the earth to your heart. And exhale all around. We'll do that again. Deep breath from the stars to your heart. Exhale to the earth. Deep breath from the earth to your heart. Exhale to the stars. Deep breath from the stars and the earth to your heart. And exhale all around. Welcome. Before I go any farther, this is the chart of the moment for the class. We have a Taurus rising. This is about getting things grounded. I have some information here. Some of it's relatively esoteric. Some of it's deep. Some of it's scary. So my intention here is to ground this energy. Chart rulers Venus here in a conjunction in the 6th house. Sun, Saturn, Mercury, Venus. Grounding this energy together, being very real about it. I've got some information I'm presenting to you, the audience, and then you all are learning. The moon is in Pisces here in the 10th house, with Chiron and Neptune conjunct. So my intention for this class is to, for us all to open our hearts in community. This information I'm about to share, my guess is that you all know it on an intuitive level, and we can all see it out in the external world. So let's infuse it with as much heart and compassion, sensitivity and feeling as we can. Oh, here's Pluto here in the 8th house. We're going to talk about some deep stuff. And there's more to that, but we don't want to spend all day on that. This is my chart here. This is who I am. I'm Ryan Evans. I am a certified level 2 evolutionary astrologer with the Stephen Forrest School of Evolutionary Astrology. I've been studying astrology for 20 years, varying degrees. I went through a 3-year disproving stage in astrology. I wanted nothing to do with it. Nobody was going to tell me from a piece of paper what was going on in my life or anybody else's life. It didn't last very long. My disproving was futile. So now I've come back to it and I've really embraced it and engaged it. Sun-Neptune conjunction in Sagittarius 6th house. I am the spiritual philosopher, disciple, learning that one day, let's see, I'm 38, 39, maybe when I'm 74 I'll become a master. But in the meantime, I'm still a student here, so I don't presume to know everything. So you might have some questions that I don't know the answer to. I might go like this, when I'm trying to explain something. Bear with me, I'm Neptunian. I have a Venus-Mars conjunction in 5th house Scorpio. I'm not afraid to, you astrologers might know what that means in depth, but I'm not afraid to talk about the big, hard, really deep stuff here in a way that we can hopefully find the joy out of it. Saturn and Gemini in the 12th brings some structure to the spiritual information, etc., etc. Do we want to get into this one yet? No. So what I'm going to be presenting tonight, I'm going to present you with a pie And this pie is about the current happenings in the sky. Pluto in Capricorn squaring the planet Uranus in Aries. It's intense. We're going to talk about that. That's the basis of the pie. There's a nice, smooth, creamy, yummy topping. That's Neptune's ingress into Pisces. And we're going to cut it up and we're going to serve it and we're going to see how it tastes. So I want to hear maybe some experiences, feedback, perhaps. I want to take a moment to honor my teachers, Stephen Forrest, Pat Kaluza, Moses Surigar, and others. Many things I might say tonight are quotes of theirs. Consider this just kind of the blanket quote. So if I happen to say something cool, it might be mine and it might be theirs. Okay. I want to give you a quick what astrology is and why I think that this is an effective way of describing current events and potentials for the future. With astrology, we have to make two assumptions. That one, that there is mystery in the universe. Ultimately, we really don't know. We can think we know as humans, but ultimately we really don't. There may be a larger plan, whose plan that is, we've been arguing about it for thousands of years. But there's mystery. So if we can all accept that, you can nod or shake your head. Yeah, life is ultimately mysterious. The flip side of that is there is meaning in this world. That there is purpose. That there is some sort of, we could call it divine order, we could call it something else, but that we can all look back on our lives and say, oh yeah, I'm here because of this series of events that led up to my life here. So we can look back at the tragedy or the crisis or the heartache, the trauma of our life, and we can see how it has provided some sort of meaning for us up at this point. We can look back and say, oh yeah, that's why she broke up with me. At the time I was a wreck, but now there's a richness to my life because of it. So astrology helps us to find the meaning and help to describe the mystery and honor the mystery through a set of symbols and archetypes. Ever since humans first woke up, and again there's many theories as to how this happened, but we can just say we got out of the Ice Age slowly. The sun still wasn't very strong, but boy, that moon was bright. And we planned our rhythms, our hunting, our clan, our family. It was all in rhythm with the moon. We started telling stories about the moon. It was reflected back to us. We saw the cycles, the waxing and the waning. And moving through different parts of the sky, we charted our life with this moon. So we started to develop a set of stories based on the moon. Our clan, our family, our deep emotional ties, our deep feeling, our inner self, the moon. Time moves on. Goddess religions start to fade. The sun starts to come into more prominence. We start taking control. We start planting seeds. We start worshiping God instead of goddess. Sun, a powerful masculine figure, becomes central in our life. The seasons become more prevalent, and we develop stories based on the sun. We start to look out in the heavens, and we see planets that we can chart, stars that we can chart. We start to develop stories. We see Mercury, see how fast it moves in relation to everything else. That becomes the messenger in our stories. We see the planet Venus with its cool, soft color. It's so alluring and so beautiful. Venus becomes for us the goddess of love. See Mars, it's red and hot. Develop a whole mythology around that. You with me? So, astrology, some people could define, they're esoteric astrologers that will say, oh, well, there's a harmonic resonance with the planet Saturn, and it emanates an energy to you that there's a little piece of Saturn within you, and there's this resonance. Possibly. I choose to look at it, for the most part, as a set of stories that live within us, that live without us. We all have our personal stories, how we find structure, what we do with our anger, how we relate. These stories have gone on for thousands and thousands of years, are deep within us. And so astrology, to me, is the observation of these stories in the sky and how they relate to the stories of our life. You kind of with me? Mm-hmm. Now, there's all sorts of 15, 20 different theories as to how and why astrology works. I'm just going to present that as its most simple. These are a set of archetypes. We project them energetically through ourselves in an archetypal field. They're reflected back to us. So this is where I get off talking about these things and feeling that there's some truth in it. I can see the stories here. I can see them in my life. I can see them in your life. You can see them in your life. So with this comes the question of fate and free will. Well, this starts to become a tricky subject. There are astrologers who say that I can look at, it might take me 7 or 8 days, but I could look at everything in your chart and totally tell you exactly what's going to happen throughout your life, no matter what. I don't particularly buy into that type of astrology. The type of astrology I practice is called evolutionary astrology. Astrology of choice, of free will. There are light sides and shadow sides to these planets. There are light sides and shadow sides to the signs. We have free will to choose what to do with that. Okay? Consciousness is continually interacting with these archetypes in unpredictable ways. So, as we talk about the interplay of the archetypes that are at the forefront of cultural consciousness right now, as we talk about that, we're going to see a series of choices that we can all make. And we can see some shadows if we choose a lower vibration, and some really amazing potentials if we choose a higher vibration. All with me? Mm-hmm. So, real quick, how we read astrology. The planet is the what? What's going on? Saturn, my need for structure, my need to self-discipline, my need to ground. Gemini, the sign. Signs are how. How is that going to act? Well, I need to find structure, but I need to do it in a somewhat mental way. I need to be active mentally. So, what? How? The house is where in the outer or inner world this archetype is playing out. Saturn and Gemini in the 12th house of everything that is unreal. Oh my gosh, here's the planet that wants to be real, and here's the mind, which is not real at all, in the house of everything that's unreal. Ah! You can see the potential for absolute insanity.
Sounds like the fool walking off the edge of the cliff.
The fool walking off the edge of the cliff. But consciousness interacting with this how can I choose to maturely discipline my mind over spiritual matters? All these different ways to look at it. So, what I'm going to be talking about tonight are the outer planet activity. We have from Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, we'll call those the inner planets. These are the planets that up until the late 1700s were what we knew as reality. All of Vedic astrology deals with just these planets that we can see. We've known about them, they've always been there. Saturn has been the last planet in our consciousness for thousands of years. These are the inner planets. These are our personal planets. They're talking more about what's happening within us, things that we can effectively control. Oh, I can work on disciplining myself with Saturn. It's something I can really consciously do. After that, we have what are called the outer planets. Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, and others that we're not going to get into now. These planets are somewhat beyond our control. We can affect them with our consciousness, but we can't necessarily have any control over Uranus, the planet of not having any control. These outer planets talk more of cultural and social events than do the inner planets. So when something happens amongst the outer planets, then we can say that there's something happening globally. We can say that there's something happening within culture. We can say that there's an energy rising that we're not necessarily aware of. But we can choose awareness of these planets. We can't necessarily choose how they're going to come out. We can do what we can to affect them. We can't necessarily choose what type of chaos, Uranus, is going to ensue. These planets also move much more slowly than the inner planets. Saturn will spend, 2.5 years in a sign? Uranus, 7 plus. Neptune, 12 plus. Pluto, as much as 17, but it's got a highly elliptical orbit and might spend a lot less time in Scorpio than, say, Taurus. You don't need to worry about all that minutia. But they move slowly. The reason they move so slowly is to build depth within us, to affect us at a very deep level. And as they work through us, then here I am doing my Uranian thing, and there's you doing your Uranian thing, and you doing your Uranian thing, and pretty soon we're all resonating at this Uranian level. Now I could be doing my Martian thing, and you could be doing your Martian thing, and she could be doing her Martian thing, but it's not necessarily like, oh, everybody's going to get Martian. If we're all feeling in a room the planet Neptune, say we're all doing a transcendental meditation class, planet Neptune, we're going to feel what everybody else is feeling. Have the potential to feel what everybody else is feeling. So do you kind of have a feeling of the difference between these outer planets that move deeply through us and these more mundane inner planets? Okay, so the pie. Uranus in Aries, square Pluto in Capricorn. I'm going to chop it up into its little pieces, bring it back together, present it to you, and we'll take a bite. So, the planet Uranus. You're 14 years old and you want to dye your hair blue. And your mother comes to you and says, "Sorry, Kristen, we do not dye our hair blue." Something is going to arise in her that says, "I want to dye my hair blue." You get that feeling?
Mm-hmm.
This is how can I be an individual regardless of whatever anybody tells me. This is the planet Uranus, one aspect.
Or you just move out when you're 13.
Or you just move out when you're
That's what
13.
I did. I just had my own house. I studied astrology.
I knew it! It wasn't blue, it was moving out at 13.
Moving out, yes.
So, if we can look at planet Uranus in terms of how it has evolved from Saturn, get a really good look at this. Saturn wants to set up a structure. Saturn is the father that says, "You will not dye your hair blue." Saturn is the rules that you must adhere to if you're going to function effectively on this planet. We have stoplights. Those are necessary things sometimes. If we didn't have stoplights, I mean...
We'd be in India.
Yeah, we'd be in India. Could you just imagine?
Drive around the cows.
So Saturn has its benefits. These are good things. But what happens when that child becomes 19, 20, 21, and that father is still saying, "No, you must not dye your hair blue"? You know, there's a time where structures and rules have to kind of come to an end. An evolution has to happen. Change has to occur. So this is the planet Uranus. Planet Uranus says, "I want to live in India and not have any stoplights. So I'm going to move to India because I am not going to put up with another stoplight in my life." This is the planet of individuation. This is the planet of you, stripped of all cultural programming. This is the you stripped of everything that anybody has ever told you you have to do or you have to be. So, with this archetype, we have the rebel. We have the individualist. We also have the inventor. We have sudden insight with the planet Uranus. When we can take our power and say, "I'm going to do this," there is a freedom in that where it's like the edges of probability. Like think of the Mandelbrot set. You know, the chaos pictures. There's this like live, electric, constantly changing and totally unpredictable energy that is right there at the edge of consciousness that is constantly expanding. It is at this point where sudden insight comes, where we have an aha moment, you know, like the light bulb above the head. That's a Uranian moment. These are amazing, beautiful things. Now, taken too far, this could be the rebel without a clue. This could be, "I'm going to be a rebel just because I'm going to be a rebel, so F you, you have a structure, you have a rule, I don't care if it's good or bad, if it's a rule, I'm going to break it." So we can see how we could take that energy a little too far. So we kind of have a sense for the planet Uranus.
Mm-hmm.
It's where we dance at the edge of probability, and in that we have magic. Magic with a K. Okay? Where we can consciously say, I'm going to take my power, I'm going to take my individuality back, and I'm just going to see what happens. And that just going to see what happens, that's Uranian energy. We have breakthrough. We have, yes, I finally figured it out. In the light. In the dark, we have breakdown. We have taking everything, taking that energy that is out at the edges of consciousness, and if we cave, boom, it implodes. So, if we choose wisely with Uranian energy, we have breakthrough. We choose unwisely, or have a lower or negative reaction to this energy, we have a breakdown. Negative Uranian energy can be absolute anxiety. Negative Uranian energy can be total and complete meltdown. This is positive. Yes, you have a question.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, of course.
With this energy that you have to break through, within the breakthrough, there could be a breakdown at the same, like, you get the breakthrough, you act on the breakthrough. You get there, and you start breaking down.
It's more like you break through and everything else breaks down.
Okay.
And you have broken through. And you see everything else
Okay.
breaking down. And if you attach yourself to that breakdown, then you start to break down
Okay,
too.
so that's the thing.
So-
The word that just came into my mind was detach from all the
Totally.
nonsense, because that's exactly what's happening to me. I made a breakthrough, I moved here, and nonsense stuff is breaking down.
Great.
Okay?
I applaud that.
I mean, it's like the landlord left stuff in my garage that damaged the rental car. Everybody's supposed to make appointments, nobody's showing up when they're supposed to. And my mind knows better to say, just leave it alone. But it's getting me.
And so the key here, yes, is to maintain your personal sense of what you know you need. What is true for you? Who am I, stripped of all cultural impositions, everything that has to. I have to do this for me, and even if it means that other people have to apparently suffer, I know that I'm following my heart. Okay? Uranian energy. So you've got that one?
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about the sign of Aries. Naturally ruled by Mars. In the sign of Aries, we have the warrior. We have the initiator. We have courage. In a nutshell, a one-liner for Aries. Aries energy exists so we can learn courage. We have an astrology presentation that we're giving. And we're scared shitless for no apparent reason other than the fact that we are learning courage out of giving ourselves that situation. We go into that situation courageously. It might be a little scary. You might embarrass yourself a little bit. But you come out saying, oh, I did it. That feeling, that's Aries. When we can walk courageously into battle, or draw your sword, get on your horse, and gallop courageously into battle. Here we have Aryan energy. Scorpio energy is more like the ninja. I'm going to hide back here and I'm going to give you the throwing star and there you're dead. Aries energy is very bold. Here's where we take the risk. Here's where we say, I am born now. Here I am in the world. Now what am I going to do? Now who am I? All right, let's do it. Here's Aries energy. The leader, the starter, the warrior, the pioneer. The daredevil. Here we have sheer survival instinct. Here's where I know there are ninjas around that want to throw throwing stars at me, so how can I courageously and effectively move through this area, self-protected with my shield and my sword? How can I move through here? Watch what happens. Oh my god! Oh! 3 throwing stars in your head. Move through courageously. Your senses are peaked. You're aware. There's a stillness of the mind. Kind of getting this Aryan energy feel. Now in the negative, you can imagine what would happen if that same knight in his shining armor had no courageous adventure. Gosh, what am I going to do with all this energy? Oh, well, maybe I'll just go chop some people's heads off. You can see how this energy could be taken too far. How we can take this Aryan energy and turn it into rage. You can see how if we don't have a stimulus, something that's stimulating our courage, something that's giving us an impetus to move forward courageously, if we don't have that, well, we're going to go create a situation. So we can go create needless drama. And we can go piss somebody off just to give us an experience of war. Hey, yeah, I know I'm alive. Yeah, sorry, I'm not sorry I pissed you off, but hey, I know I'm alive. So, I'm kind of feeling this Aryan energy. Put them together, Uranus and Aries. And right now, here's a 0 degrees Aries chart for you astrologers. Uranus is at 2 degrees of Aries. So we have this Uranian energy. I need to be an individual. I need to be myself. I need to let go of whatever cultural rules are imposed on me. And I need to do it in a way that is courageous. I need to be the strong warrior here. Because I know that deep within myself is this individual that has its need for freedom. Because when it comes right down to it, everything here comes, in my opinion, everything here comes back to love. Everything. Everything comes back to the light. So, all any of these planets want is to be happy. So here we have the radical individual, or we have the lone rebel, or we have the individual inventor in his garage creating cold fusion. So when you blend the Aryan energy and the Uranian energy, you can see the intensity and the volatility in there. You can almost feel how one wrong move could just light the wick of dynamite accidentally. Oh, I was just kind of angry. I didn't mean to. I just wanted my hair to be blue. That's all I wanted. I wanted to love myself because I thought blue, I really like blue. It's a nice color. I saw somebody on the street the other day with blue hair. I thought it was really cool. I wanted to try it. I didn't mean to totally run away and cause my parents complete grief and have them drop into depression and drink themselves to death. You know, hard and harsh, I know, but that's sometimes life, isn't it? So, right now, this is a chart of what's happening in the sky right now, in the astrological sky right now. Right now, Uranus is in Aries till 2017, I believe.
Oh boy.
So, we're all holding this archetype within us on the individual level, and we can also see this archetype out on the cultural level. Facebook, Uranus, brought down Aries Mubarak. Okay? Here we have the rebel standing up with their power, fighting for what they believe in. Uranus and Aries. I think we'll just set that aside for a minute. Uranus and Aries. Over here. Oh, I want to bring that back. Last time Uranus was in Aries was 1928 to 1934.
Oh dear.
You guys all remember? Well, you weren't alive then.
We remember though.
But yeah,
And we're going to
Kristen's
get rid
right.
of the Federal Reserve Bank this time.
We remember on an intuitive cellular level. You know, I said that, you know, oh, Uranus is in Aries, 1828, 1834. Oh my gosh, Al Capone.
Well, my
Gosh.
grandmother's still alive, and she lived through it, and I talked to her.
Excellent. There you go. So, we had a lot of gangsters.
They were here.
We
in
had
Arizona.
we had a lot of people who were quite rebellious against the status quo, weren't they? Also happened to be a time of the Great Depression. Another time when Uranus was in Aries was in 1509 when Henry VIII took England and the church and gave them both the finger and created the Church of England because he wanted to what? He wanted to marry someone else. You can't get a divorce in the church of the time. You have to stay with them forever. Well, Uranus and Aries. Yeah, whatever, dude. I'm going to totally break down that structure, and I'm going to take the power for what I want, and I'm going to create a whole new church. Kind of see that energy? That is up again. We are in the midst of it, or in the beginning of it. Okay? The angry rebel, the lone warrior, the radical inventor, the need to be you, no matter what. Can I get a sense of this Uranus and Aries thing? It's half the pie.
People are marching on Wall Street.
Which leads us to the other half of the pie. Pluto. It is hard not to throw in, it is hard to throw in some little funny jokes when talking about Pluto. Because we're talking about heavy, heavy stuff with Pluto. What is it that you do not want to admit? What is your deep wound? I like to look at this in terms of the composting process. That's a great way to look at Pluto. You take your crap and you throw it into a pile. And eventually that pile builds up. That pile just sits there. And we will have anaerobic decomposition. Everything turns to a stinky, slimy mess. Not useful, becomes a blob, it attracts rats. Having an anaerobically decomposed compost pile is not something that I would suggest for any homeowner. But when you take all of your crap, all of your waste, okay, with me, throw it into a pile, add the air of consciousness, let it sit, go back to it, stir it up again, let it sit, okay, stir it up again, let it sit. Say this one more time. Stir it up again. You see, this isn't a quick, easy thing. You want the compost. You want the rich, fertile, black yumminess. You're not going to get it unless you continually look at the crap that you threw in there. Okay? You can take a screen, shovel, throw it on the screen, sift it. Oh yeah, look at all that good compost. Oh, there's some rotten banana peels. Better throw those back into the compost. This is a psychological process of deep healing that we all have to go through if we're going to deal with our crap. Raise your hand if you have no crap to deal with.
Almost there. No.
See how I wasn't?
Yeah. Almost. If I were
Pluto, here's this is a good one. If there's anybody who thinks that they don't have anything to deal with, all I would say would be, oh.
Denial.
That's denial. And that's some of the biggest crap you're going to have to deal with. So now you could be, 3 years old and not necessarily be conscious of your deep soul wound. You could be 20 and not be conscious of your deep soul wound. You could be 40 and not be conscious of your deep soul wound. The older you get, the harder it is going to be to dig into that pile, lift that shovel, and sift it. That being said, no matter what age you are, there is some wound, there is something inside everyone here that needs to be brought to air, brought to the light, and looked at and healed. Pluto asks us, what are we not dealing with? Pluto also says, what needs to be broken down into its little pieces so that we can deal with it effectively, so that we can deal with it consciously. I could talk for 5 days and we could scream at the top of our lungs through some deep inner work of Pluto, but I think you're kind of feeling it. Mm-hmm. Yeah? Okay, then let me keep going with it. There are some amazing things with Pluto. You're walking down the mall, a couple of teenagers pass and say, oh, it's all good. And you're like, oh my God, give me a break. Whatever. You have a issue within yourself that you're feeling sorrow or hurt or guilt, and you go before the master healer. And they put their hands on your shoulders and says, it's all good. Wow. See the difference? Mm-hmm. One is a more Venusian, oh, it's all good. The others, whoa, it's all good. And that presence, that depth, that weight there, that's Pluto. There is a no escaping kind of feeling with Pluto. When the master puts his hands on your shoulders and says, it's all good, looks deep into your eyes, you can see my soul. Whoa. That's deep Pluto right there. So with that, you see the power, you see the energy in that. It gets no more intense. It gets no more real than sitting at the foot of the master and having him recite the alphabet, and it's like, wow, I've never heard it like that before. There's a magic in that. So now imagine you've done this work. You've become conscious, more conscious of your stuff, so that when somebody asks you, you can raise your hand and say, yes, I'm consciously dealing with my stuff. This is powerful, Pluto. That is some powerful stuff. I am consciously dealing, I know what my crap is. It's taken me 39 years, but I'm now aware of my crap, and so maybe in another 39 it will all compost into pure richness. But at least I'm aware of it. There's some power in that. That gives you a presence of a shaman, of someone to whom others can go with their crap because they know that you can hold that energy for them. Okay, Pluto. Pluto is going to force us to look at the things we don't want to look at or are uncomfortable looking at or that we think do not exist. So if there is anything that you are unconscious of, Pluto, when it makes an aspect somewhere in your chart of significance, Pluto will force you to look at it. And we can have conscious or unconscious responses to this. We can react with, yes, I have this work to do. Okay, I'm more humble. I need to find some deep healing here. I need to go to psychotherapy. Excuse me, this is Pluto. That's good stuff. You know, people say, there might be a stigma with oh, you go to psychotherapy? Oh, what's wrong with you? You're getting better. You go see a therapist. Okay?
Theta healing works really fast.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
So, get a sense for Pluto. What don't we want to deal with? What needs to break down in order for the truth or the richness or the power to come out? Okay? Pluto, we're there? Mm-hmm. There's a lot more with Pluto, but we don't have to do that. That was the heavy part of the talk. Now let's look at Capricorn, because Pluto is now in the sign of Capricorn. If I, as a body, did not have Capricorn energy, I would be a big pile of mush. Because Capricorn rules your bones, your structure. Imagine that you couldn't lift anything if you didn't have bones inside there, could you? No, it'd be like, trying to lift the neighbor. You couldn't do it. The bones, very, very important. They hold you up. They give you structure. They give you form. Important, right? Become too structured, have too much form, we call this arthritis. Okay? Now let's look out in the world. Where do we see Capricorn? This wall is holding the ceiling up and giving us a container to sell our hats and shoes. If we didn't have the container, we couldn't lock the door and people would come and steal our hats and shoes. That would suck. Capricorn is a good thing. Where else do we see Capricorn?
Prison.
I'm sorry? Yes.
Prison.
Prisons. Any structure, government, institution, banks, hospitals, anything that society comes together in order to contain something.
They can't. Sorry.
We're getting there. In order to contain something, we set up a structure, set up an institution. Oh, well, there's a lot of people on this planet. Let's put them in a box and control them. We call this government. People have energy and resources, and we need to manage these resources and find ways of effectively controlling commerce and having roads and getting a set of taxes to pay for the roads, and you see where I'm going with this. Any structure, any institution is Capricorn. These are good things. With the energy of Capricorn in its higher form, we have integrity. We have the rock-solid foundation of our truths or beliefs. And we stand by them. We say we're going to show up to a class at 7, and even if we're having severe allergies to Sedona, we're still going to do it. This is Capricorn stuff. Okay, this is really important. I said I would show up, so I'm here. That's Capricorn. If I would have been excessively, forget it, you guys can learn all this stuff on your own, that would have been negative Uranus and Aries. Okay, so Capricorn is a good thing. Gives us the rules with which we can function. It's the stoplight that says stop. I'd like other people to stop if I'm going 55. Thank you, Capricorn. Whenever you go through a green light, thank a Capricorn.
Isn't that the person that helps keep the house clean for the messy Sagittarius?
Oh, no, that's a Virgo.
They're all good at that, though.
The Capricorn tells the Sagittarius he has to be home by 5, and the Virgo he's got to clean up by 4:30. Let's see the shadow side of this. What happens when the box is too small and the things inside the box are like, I want to get out and play? Okay? And what happens when the box says, no, I'm not going to grow any bigger to accommodate you? You have people literally banging their head against the wall. You have a set of rules that no longer applies to reality. You have something that is set up on past experience and beliefs without any regard to future evolution and developments. So Capricorn can become stuck. Capricorn can be immobile. Capricorn cannot move in the negative. Wise Capricorn says, well, if I am going to keep these contained, then I should accommodate an appropriate space for this chaos. Wise Capricorn. That's not always the case with Capricorn. Capricorn sometimes thinks they know, and you just have to listen. So now let's put Pluto in the sign of Capricorn. Let's integrate. What is it about Capricornian structures? What is it about the box that we need to take a really solid look at and say, hey, you need to make room for this? What is it about the stoplight where we say, there's never a friggin' car that comes in the opposite direction? Why is there a stoplight here? Just put a stop sign on that other road, and we got it good. Capricorn, no, I say there's supposed to be a stop sign there, a stoplight there. Pluto comes along and says, no, we're going to disintegrate and dissolve and decompose these structures that are no longer effective. So Pluto in Capricorn can be a deep need, deep and immediate need to have a new structure. One that can contain the new energies or a different energy. Take Capricorn as government. Take Capricorn as a calcified government that no longer works. Pluto now in Capricorn says we need to take a real deep, solid look at the structures that no longer work. Okay? We have a need for deep regeneration of government. We have a financial system that is not serving everyone in the best possible ways. So what is it that we're not really admitting about the way things are, Capricorn, that we really need to take a hard look at and throw on the compost heap so that we can allow it to dissolve and decompose, so that when we sift it out, we have the new, rich, yummy compost. Okay? So this is what's happening now. We have Uranus and Aries, fiery rebel, the need to individuate, the need to take our power back, the need for society to stand up to whatever and to be powerful. We need to, Aries can be about self-love. We need to radically love ourselves. Okay? And here's Pluto and Capricorn, the breakdown of structure. They are in a square aspect. 2 degrees, 5 degrees now, June something of 2012, it's an exact square. 7 exact squares between 2012 and 2015. And the early cardinal signs between these two. So let's talk for a moment about a square. We have the Uranus and Aries piece over here, Pluto and Capricorn piece here. In order to talk about the square, we're going to start at the conjunction, 0 degrees. The year is 1965. In fact, I can talk about the 60s in general. The 65, 66, that Uranus and Pluto are in a conjunction, powerfully infused together in the sign of Virgo. So, tell me, what happened in the 60s? Anyone?
All about love, man.
Revolution.
Seek for perfection, revolution. Come on.
Nobody seems to remember.
Nobody seems to remember. Yes, dear, back there.
13 colonies?
Colonies?
13 colonies.
The 13 colonies. On some level, I'm sure there were 13 colonies.
Mind expansion.
Mind expansion. We had a radical psychological revolution in the 60s. Now, I wasn't alive back then, so I can just kind of, hear what other people say about it. But there was a psychological revolution in consciousness where we saw that the old ways simply weren't working. They were the Uranian energy and the Plutonian energy were powerfully infused together in the sign of Virgo. Sign of Virgo, oh boy, without getting too deeply into it, it's about seeing what's wrong with something so that we can do the hard work to make it right. So we have the rebel and transformation, rebellious transformation, because we know something's wrong. So we see it reflected in the music and in the culture and in the politics of the time. We had an idealism that, well, partially, mostly failed, and a lot of those people are now contributing to part of the problem. Not everybody. Not everybody. Not all the hippies at that time. But think of what's a hippie value? Oneness, togetherness. Let's make it all work together. Okay? You do your part, I'll do my part. We all want to be happy. We all are looking for freedom and revolution. So let's do it. And here we are, right now, at what's called the waxing square. Now we're being tested on what was going on in 1965-66. Right now. Yes.
I was alive then, okay?
How old?
I was there. I'm 54 years old.
How old were you
I
in
was
65?
8, my daughter's age.
Okay.
Okay. I remember that time. It was now looking back on it, it was real cool. And I remember growing up, and my mother's sister was a little older than I was, and I had all the cool clothes and the bell bottoms, and it was very irresponsible. Because it was not for the greater good. It was for a very selfish reason. Self-gratification. I don't want to do this. They weren't really looking for a solution. They were just looking not to do, period.
But it sounded good.
It sounded good. But what came out of that was an area when I became a young woman that I was left in the lurch.
Interesting.
Okay? Because it went too far, and then it was like, well, who cares?
Well, what do we do now?
And what do we do now? And then all of a sudden, the 80s came. And that's when the money started. And the banks started. And
That's
then we're
right.
like, hey, we used to like to wear grungy, stinky things. Now I want a BMW.
Right. The Pluto and Leo generation comes of age.
Okay? And it was, and you know what? I look at it back, when I was growing up, and we had the Vietnam War was going on too. And that was like another thing. Like, how I see it? I see myself as a kid like this.
Huh.
Okay?
Very interesting.
Terrified.
Sure.
Wow.
And it's just, you hit on something that just made me realize that, we make it funny, and you see these hippies are in the Bowery. Like, I'm from New York, living under the bridges,
Right.
okay? And we have a government that is like, let's just put them, forget about them.
Right.
And it's not, it served a purpose, but yet it really, to me, it was more destructive than anything else.
And so the purpose that it served was to begin to awaken us to the possibility.
Right.
We didn't know what the hell to do with the energy. Hey, we've got this great idea, let's form a commune. Hey, but what are you doing sleeping with my partner? And what are you doing taking my money? And you're not doing the work. And why am I doing all the work? This sucks. So much for our whoop-de-woo commune. Okay? This is the 60s.
With the civil rights, too.
Civil rights. Powerful, powerful, powerful stuff. Some of that,
Shook out.
some of it shook out. Some of it worked. And it did work in the sense that here we are now able to look back at it and glean some wisdom from it. So, conjunction. The energy is birthed. Don't necessarily know what to do with it, but here's the energy, boom. Uranus and Pluto, boom. A square, 90 degrees, in astrology is about a test. It's about, okay, now we have to do something. We want something to work. Take the structure. I want to have a very cool clothing store. I want to put it in a building. So you take a block and you put it there. Put the cement on top. You take another block. Okay, these are squares, okay? This is hard work. Okay, I have to use some discipline here, and I can sit here and cry and whine about having to do the work, but if I want the shop, I have to do this work. Okay? This is the square. It is hard work. If you're going, oh my God, you know you're doing a good job with the square because at least you're engaged with it. Be unconscious of it, the square is still going to work. The square is still going to test you. The square is still going to bring situations into one's life where they need to get down to business and do something real and actual. Okay? So the angry rebel squared off with the oppressive government. Okay? This is what's going on right now. The individual looking to take their power back squared off. I'm going in this direction. There's a square. We're going in two opposite directions. We can make something out of this. I don't necessarily understand you, you don't necessarily understand me, but if we work together and we stop right here and don't keep going, stop right here, we've got a square, we've got something we can work with. Consciousness infused into this aspect is capable of anything. Unconsciousness put into this aspect is capable of destroying anything. And here's where we are now in our culture, in our society, in our planet. Uranus and Aries, square Pluto and Capricorn, coming from their conjunction back in the 60s of having the ideal, how can we get closer to God, closer to happiness, how can we make it better, how can we be more altruistic, how can we make it work. We've more or less failed. We're now being given an opportunity to make it work. How do we make it work? Pluto asks us to deal with what we're not choosing consciously to deal with. Uranus will give us a breakthrough or a breakdown, depending on how conscious we can be about this unconscious energy. Part 2 of this talk, that comes some other time, is to look in your individual charts and see where these planets are. If this were your chart specifically, Pluto asks, what has wounded you? Where do you need healing? Well, I need healing in the realm of the public and in the community. And say you need, say this just in the natural chart here. If you can consciously seek to heal the part of you that has been publicly wounded, you could have a breakthrough in the realm of self-love. Take this 90 degrees to anywhere else. If you put Pluto here, if you ask yourself, where am I wounded in my deep philosophy and my religious beliefs? What about my religious beliefs have wounded me? What am I not looking at here in terms of the things I know and believe? Do that healing work, you could have a complete breakthrough in your spiritual life, in your deep creativity. 8th house, house of sexuality, house of power. Say Pluto's transiting your 8th house. Perhaps you were abused as a child. Perhaps you have used your sexual power in less than perfect ways. You look at that. My gosh, Pluto's transiting my 8th house. How have I misused my power? Wow, I'm finding some consciousness. I'm getting some integrity, Capricorn. I'm getting some strength and some wisdom, Capricorn, about this deep healing process. Then you can have a breakthrough in actualizing your goals, in realizing your strategies and your long-term priorities of life. Life starts to manifest everything you want for it. Concurrently, if you do not heal this wound, I'm just going to cower in my little shell and I'm not going to come out into the world and try to engage community, then you will have a breakdown of your self-love. You won't be loving yourself. So this is what's happening internally. Every one of you, myself included, I am definitely not immune. It's happening in each of you individually. And since it's happening in every individual, it's also happening culturally. So we see individuals, we see some deep woundedness over how we finance our lives. Okay? So we're going to take a deep look at that and come out in the community and occupy Wall Street. Okay? The only thing that can come from that are individuals loving themselves more. We start throwing rocks and bombing and doing all this horrible stuff to bring down the establishment. We are going to lose all of our rights. And the oppressive government clamps down harder. And the angry rebel becomes more destructive. Clamp, destroy. Clamp, destroy. Haven't we had enough? So the energy that's up right now, the main ingredients of this pie are what I just said. We need to heal these things that we individually are not looking at in ourselves, and then culturally that we're not looking at, or that we need to look at more.
So is this the United States chart? That
No,
you're
this
showing
is
us?
just a
This is the
0
world
degree.
chart?
It's just a 0 degrees Aries
Okay.
chart. It's called a natural chart.
Okay.
Aries is a natural ruler of
Okay.
the first house. Here's Aries.
I didn't know
Leo's a
if it was
natural
based on
ruler.
a certain date and time or anything.
I don't want to get predictive.
Okay.
That's a whole different talk, putting this chart
And to the
On-
maybe United States chart, if we know what time we want to say it was born.
on any of the 3 different United States chart. They all have incredible potential for healing and growth and happiness and learning our lessons and coming to a place that we thought of first at the conjunction in the 60s. Okay? In the 60s we thought peace, love, happiness, and good herb. That's possible. The possibility, too, is absolute, total annihilation, destruction, eradication of our rights, totally losing ourselves, and having great Satan take control of everything. It's not like it's not already, but I prefer to choose to believe that we're capable of doing this work. I think that there are enough people on this planet with enough information, with enough heart, to be the wise Uranian. Not take a negative Pluto's, an oppressive government, not sit there and be submissive. No. But to stand up for our rights and say, hey, these things need to change. We're 99%. You guys are 1%.
Right.
You're the one that needs to change some things here. So how can we do this in a loving, magnanimous, peaceful way that we thought of in the 60s? It didn't work. Now it has to work. Because the alternative is a scary animation cartoon.
That's what we've been saying all week.
Uranium, plutonium, okay? War, control. We get to choose. You each individually get to choose how this manifests in your life. Not to put any big burden on you, but it's up to you. It is up to each person in this room, regardless of their age, to make an empowered choice to look and see whatever's keeping them back from their integrity, keeping them back from being strong and secure of who they are. What's keeping me from this? I can show you, here's a great example. Ryan's chart. Here's Pluto, 6th house. Responsibility issues, mentoring issues. It is going to hit my Jupiter and then rise up into the 7th house, rise up into the world. If I myself can look and see what mentors in my life have actually been false. How have I taken an unconscious response to responsibility? How can I take my power here and hold the energy of doing the good work in my day-to-day life? I do this work, and I have a breakthrough in my mission. And I'm able to come out into the world as a powerful force that affects change. I could read this in terms of 7th house too, because it's going to hit my my descendant here, it's going to hit my 7th house cusp throughout the square. 7th house, this is about trust. How can I trust other people? How have I been wounded by trust? Where have I trusted people and gotten seriously burned? So it's not just how to trust, it's who to trust. So if I can look at the woundedness of trusting, oh my gosh, and do the really hard work of how can I trust? Oh my gosh, maybe I should trust my friends in Sedona to set up a little class for me that helps me to fulfill my mission. And even though there's only a relatively small amount of people here, my hope is that it is the tiniest little pebble in the pond that creates a big ripple.
Today was a good day astrologically to have a class.
I didn't plan it that way.
And meet new people for the first time. If you're going to
Nice.
meet someone new, it's a good day to natalize something.
Nice.
Just so happens.
So you can see this energy, how it plays out in somebody's life. If I do my good work, and I can trust people, I can have a fulfillment of the mission. If I don't do this work, then I make all sorts of professional blunders and mistakes and tarnish my reputation. No pressure. Okay, that's the main pie. Now there is an icing on the top of this. That is nutritious and delicious. And that is Neptune's ingress into the sign of Pisces. So, how to talk about Neptune?
Neptune can be long-term financial security also. Believe it or not.
Nice.
Yes, it can, but that's not the avenue I want to take it. I'd like to talk about Neptune in terms of spirit. In terms of, we have what we consider reality that we know. It's a table, paper, a word. These things can fall into the realm of reality. There is also things that exist that are unreal. Dreams. Where does that come from? Our intuition. Where does that come from? The one heart of creation that connects all of our hearts. That if I were some enlightened spiritual master, I could sit here and all of your, like this, and emanate from my heart, and all of your hearts would start to vibrate, and we have instant communal spiritual upliftment. No, I'm not there yet. We'll be there for a while, but you can see the potential of Neptune. It is in Neptune that we have unlimited compassion. It is in Neptune where we reach for something higher than ourselves, more beautiful. We want to embody the most beautiful thing we can imagine with ourselves. With Neptune, we have inspired creative art, where people will look at it, look at your art and say, excuse me, where did that come from? The artist is like, I don't know, it just came to me in a vision. Neptune. Whenever we talk about things like soul, spirit, spirituality, we're talking about Neptune. Sometimes when we talk about God, goddess, higher power, there's not necessarily any tangible proof, although some of us have had experiences where we're like, ah, that's the mind of God at work. Maybe you've had those experiences. I have no idea why this happened or where this came from, but oh, there's magic that just led me to this place. So I'm in Minneapolis. I do these outdoor winter installations, spruce tops and dogwood and curly willow. I'm in this business district. It's a springtime, and I have an excessive amount of pussy willow. I'm like, oh, well, I'll just go, and got this feeling like I should go rip out the spruce tops in one of these pots and fill it with pussy willow. I'm not getting paid to do it. They didn't ask me to do it. I just get a sense, a feeling like it's something I should do. I've got an hour before my next appointment. Why not? So I go and I rip out all the stuff. And I do this diggity awesome arrangement. I got this fantail willow that's moving all that. Got 5 kinds of pussy willow and curly willow. And stand back. Looks awesome. Woman comes out of a shop. She's looking at my product and she's like, whoa, what is this stuff? I say, oh, that's fantail willow. She's like, oh, wow, where'd you get it? I say, oh, I grow that on my farm. Oh, where's your farm? It's in southwestern Wisconsin. Oh, where? Oh, it's outside of Viroqua. Oh, we live outside of La Crosse. This is 200 miles away in Minneapolis. Oh, we live outside of La Crosse. I'm like, oh, wow, that's great. Small world, you know. Do you do weddings? I said, yeah, I decorate weddings. I totally do that. Boom. Got a $5,000 wedding. Just like that. Why? How? There wasn't anything that said I had to go there and do this installation. But since I followed my intuition, this whim, this feeling, I got my mortgage paid all summer from 1 gig. Sweet. It was awesome. That's Neptune. We're not conscious necessarily of Neptune. But when we can allow ourselves to be open, there's a magic and a synchronicity, that flow that feels literally like the mind of God saying, you need to go take your $500 worth of product that you're not selling and stick it into a pot so that you can be there for this woman at the right time to walk out of this shop and say, what's this? And you have the cool product. And you see where I'm going? It wouldn't have happened without this Neptune. Here's another good way. Quote Obi-Wan Kenobi. So Luke is there. It's the first Star Wars, it's actually the 4th, but the first one that came out in '77. Obi-Wan's training Luke with the lightsaber and the little blaster ball thing. Luke has the blast shield down over his face, and he's supposed to intuit where the little blasts come so he can deflect them. And Luke says, but with the blast shield down, I can't even see. How am I supposed to fight? And Luke's whining. Obi-Wan says, your eyes can deceive you. Don't trust them. Luke. And Obi-Wan says something. It's always going to stick with me. Well, the whole movie's always going to stick with me. But Obi-Wan says, a Jedi can feel the Force flowing through him. Okay? Neptune. In its most powerful. Now we can see the shadow side of Neptune could lead us to complete illusion or disillusionment or escaping from reality or drug addiction or complete dissociation or a complete, disregard for everything that's real. But that's not what's happening now. Neptune is about to go into its own sign of Pisces. When planets move into their own sign, their home sign, they're at home. they feel most safe to express themselves as truly for what they are. So Neptune is moving, it's at 28 Aquarius right now. It's kind of opposing my moon, but we don't have to get into that.
Don't worry, it won't hurt you. It'll be fine.
Thank you, thank you. So Neptune's kind of dancing around the edge of Pisces here. February 2nd, 3rd, 4th, something like that of 2012, Neptune moves into Pisces for till 2025, I believe. Don't quote me on that, but it's somewhere like that. Let me give you some historical dates about what has happened historically when Neptune has gone into Pisces. Oh, this is fun, this is fun. Where is it, where is it?
Plus, back then, we didn't know Neptune was there in Pisces, right?
That's right.
So now it should be even more powerful.
That is an excellent point. As well, in fact, just to echo off what Kristen just said, this is our first conscious awareness of Pluto engaged in a square with Uranus. It's engaged in a square with Uranus, oh God, 96 times since 1400. I just looked that one up today. So it's not like this energy never happens, but it is the first time that, since Pluto was discovered in what, 1930, that this square is at the forefront of our consciousness. We're aware. Just to back up, what happened in 1930s when we discovered Pluto? Carl Jung gave us the collective unconscious. He said, oh, we've got an unconscious. People were like, what? Okay. We're now conscious that we have an unconscious. Okay. So this energy is now stronger than it's ever been.
And Pluto was discovered in Flagstaff.
There you go.
Nice.
So Neptune's ingress into Pisces, historically. Oh, must be on the wrong page. Neptune in action. 374 to 389, Christianity is now the dominant. Christianity has become the Holy Roman Empire, for good or ill. 1538, 1552, Buddhism spread rapidly in Japan, and Christianity made its way to Wales. 701 to 716 AD, Islam spread rapidly over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 continents. And there was let's see, 1204. It's the end, thank God, of the Crusades. 1520 to 1534. In 1521, Martin Luther gave us the Protestant Reformation. You mean that I could buy my way into heaven? Okay?
Or work your way into heaven.
Yeah, Martin Luther said, I want to read the Bible, thank you. I'm going to print it so I can read it. You can see how religion, see how spirituality historically has, in whatever period it is in, spreads rapidly, increases rapidly. 1684 to 1698. The new religion is science. We also had the Salem witch trials. Icky, negative, Neptune. James II of Britain gave us tolerance of all religions in England for the first time ever. 1690 something. And my favorite one, 1847 to 1862, we had the American Transcendental Movement in literature. At this time, people like Emerson and Thoreau started presenting us with a much more spiritual take on why we're here, on what we're doing, on what this is all about.
That might be when Guru Nanak came into being too and started the Sikh religion.
Sure, sounds good to me.
I gotta double check on the dates of that.
Check it out. Because there were, just look at that time period. The American Transcendental Movement. Emerson talked about things like the oversoul. Whoa. Okay? So, in light of Uranus and Pluto in square, in light of the individual wanting to take their power back and show the structures exactly what's wrong with them, okay? In light of all of this energy, I'm not going to make any predictions here, is my disclaimer. But what, oh what, could you possibly suppose Neptune's ingress into Pisces could bring us? Historically, it has always been a revolution or an expansion in our spiritual nature. And now that we are awake as a species, some of us, some more than others, now that we are conscious that there are some things that really need to change, now that we are in a position to take our power back, in terms of self-love, because we need to individuate and we need to find out who we are regardless of whatever anybody else has put on us. Neptune is going into its own sign of Pisces. So, again, I don't want to make any kind of prediction. Oh, the New Age is going to rapidly spread. The mothership will land. Jesus will come again. Or for the first time, if that's your religion. Or for the third time, if that's your religion. But here's the hope. Okay? We have all of this intensity going on. Talked about it in the first hour and a half. All of this intensity going on. And here's Neptune. Here's spirit. Here's our need to connect, our need to feel at one, our need to, I love you and 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 you for who you are. Because I want you to love me for who I am. So, in summary, we as a culture are at a very, 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 if not the most important place in our historical evolution, where the old systems no longer work. We're not exactly sure what does work, but we have the energy to find it. And we also have
An exalted planet.
our spiritual nature about to increase rapidly.
Nice.
So,
It's exciting.
instead of saying something like, ooh, 2012, the end of the Mayan calendar, we're all doomed, okay? Instead, it's, no, there's some serious stuff that we have to look at. We have all of the work to do that our parents couldn't pull off, or only partially pulled off, or maybe set the stage for us to pull off. And here we are, no matter what your age, it's time to step up to the plate. to heal your wounds, to come to a place of breakthrough, and then to allow the Spirit to enter, to infuse the life, so that we can all, as humanity, it's my hope, not prediction, hope, we can all, as humanity, really start to really do, for real, all of these things that we've been talking about, conjecturing about. Everything from the woo-woo New Age, if you're Christian. Here's just a little side note on that. How many Christians are really in charge of bombing other people? How many Christians actually treat others the way they want to be treated? What would happen if every Christian really took on the Neptunian Piscean teachings of Jesus? Really embodied that. Wow. So, this is my hope. This is where we are. You all have work to do.
It can be easy and fast.
It can be easy and fast, but it's if you want it to be easy and fast, it's going to be hard and conscious. Are there any questions? Yes, ma'am.
What's Neptune been doing in Aquarius?
Neptune has been in Aquarius giving us Facebook,
On the internet.
giving us the internet. Neptune, connection. How many of us have found much greater connection through the Aquarian age?
Amazing. It's a global noosphere. You can visualize it or put it out there, and it just happens instantly with that. It's amazing.
Yes. Neptune in Aquarius gave us rapid heart connection through the internet. It has also given us some escape through electronic means.
So would it be fair to say that maybe, a conscious idea would be to like connect like crazy till February and then figure out who you've connected with and do the work? Or I don't know.
Sure.
What would you say about that transition from the one to the other?
Regardless of the threats about November with Facebook, somebody threatening to shut it down, it's a good chance that it's always going to be with us. The archetype of Neptune and Aquarius and Neptune and Capricorn and Neptune and Sag, those archetypes are with us still. We're just building on them in the future. So Neptune's going into Pisces. Yeah, hey, we might get some designer drugs that, the drug culture might go like this. Neptune in Pisces, we could escape through drugs, escape through totally disconnecting from everything.
Meditation forever.
Yeah, we could escape through thinking that we're all spiritual. Oh, I'm not going to deal with this stuff. I'm just going to go take my designer drug and feel bliss. And then there's no problem.
That's that same thing.
That's conscious.
With
Yes?
that's that selfishness of the 60s.
Right,
Okay, let me get so high that it doesn't matter what's going on.
right,
In my own mind, everything's wonderful.
right.
But you know what? I'm taking away from everything tonight. What you're saying is we have to work on ourselves individually. And it's really hard. That's the biggest challenge to ask because nobody wants to do it.
Nobody wants to do it.
Not in Sedona, we all do it. That's all we
you see,
do.
this is-
We're
I
either
just left suburban New Jersey.
a patient or on the staff.
Okay,
That's the same.
because I don't want my
Patient
daughter
or you're on the staff.
where everybody's like,
I love that.
they just failed, my daughter's school just failed